Hey everyone, this is Daniel, and today is part 3 of the Planning Sharepoint List Relationships for Power Apps. So this is kind of like the last piece of the puzzle, because in the first one we went ahead and built those fantastic lists. In the second one we went ahead and built that nice Canvas app over there. But here we're going to now take the app, we're going to take the lists, we're going to patch it, and then put it on those other 3 lists that I showed you. So this is kind of the final piece of the puzzle, but before we jump in, here's my intro video. So a quick review on my slide deck as well. Like I mentioned, this is the 3-part series. So we finished the first one, we finished the second one, and here we'll be focusing on actually building that final piece of the app. Also, the lists that you see on the right, those 3 lists, those are the ones we'll be focused on today because we'll be saving data over there. So that's going to be our primary focus. But for those of you who are actually coming in and you want to actually even understand to see how the matrix was built, this is how it is. So the ones which actually have that purplish color, that's the one which are the primary ones, which didn't have any of their other IDs except the primary one. The ones which are light blue, those are the ones that have other relationships which has their own IDs, but also they have the other IDs, but they're still for viewing purposes. But the 3 on the top, which have those yellowish colors, those are the ones we'll be saving the data in. So again, this is just a quick matrix of all the lists. I also recommend that you go and watch the first 2 videos because that really sets the expectation of this video over there. So I highly recommend you do that. So now that you understand it, let's go into the last piece of the puzzle. So here is my final app. So that was the app we actually built last time. So I'm going to now go in and edit it, and we can finish the last piece of the puzzle. What I'll also do is I'll go ahead and log into my Sharepoint lists. So here's when I log in, I'm going to make sure I go to the correct app, correct site, and then here are my Sharepoint lists over there. I come into the site contents, I want to focus on those 3 lists where we'll be actually saving the data. So I come down to the requests, that's one of them. We'll also be going to the shipping piece, and then finally there will also be the accessories or the accessory request. The final 3 lists that we'll be focusing on. Okay, so here is that list over here. I mean the app. It was initially I went ahead and said this. I'm going to build this home page or the home screen because right now I'm just putting a new request. But in the future I may even use that as a add or edit or delete a request. So I'm going to keep that as is. Here we really don't have to add any enhancements because this was just the viewing section of the app where I went ahead and choose the manufacturer. Based on manufacturers, the devices were filtered. I select the device that I want, and I go and click on this one here. Nothing fancy on this side. On select, the only thing that happens is it basically takes me to the next screen. So really nothing fancy over here, right? It took me to the, and I actually clicked on that. This took me to the next screen. Here is where all the magic is going to happen. And there's a few places that we'll be focusing on. But what I want to do is kind of take them in chunks, small pieces over here. So the first thing that I was thinking about is let's go ahead and actually focus on this one over here. This is a gallery by itself because we're just big fans of gallery. So it is the what I call as the accessories gallery. But I want to do something interesting over here. In this gallery, I'm going to take that data and I'm going to definitely save it into another accessory list over there. But I want to make sure that when I select it, I'm able to go ahead and save it to a single line of text. Basically, from the multiple selections, I'm going to save it to a single line of text, and then that data will be stored in the original list over there. But then how do I do that? Because this is a gallery, and I want to save it to a single line of text, and to make it presentable, I at least want to have it comma separated. So how do I do that? And there's a very simple trick to it. I mean, literally, it is a very simple trick to it. Is first you go ahead and select that one, which is the same gallery over here. And then you go and pick its checkbox, which is what I'm going to do over here. I've selected the checkbox. And in its checkbox, you want to go to and work on both the on check and the uncheck. So I come over here, because go to this properties, and there is the on check over here. There is also the uncheck. Now both of them, I'm going to apply the exact same formula. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go ahead and grab the selection that is done, and in the selection I'm going to save it into a temporary collection, but I'm going to do it on the on check. So let me go ahead and type in the formula because it'll start making more sense. So basically I'm doing a clear collect, and clear collect means this is going to be a collection that is used on the selection of that property, and every time it takes it, when I select it, it'll clear what's already there and it'll add to it. But there's that nice little trick, which let me show you that. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to type in temp access collection, or COL, and I'm going to filter it. I'm going to filter it based on the this gallery right there. Control C, copy that. You know my trick that I do just to make sure that I don't have any spelling mistakes whatsoever. I'll do the all accessories, comma, checkbox 1 dot value equals true. All right, so you saw what I did over there. There might be a little bit confusion here. What exactly is Daniel doing? What I'm doing is that anytime a box is checked, I'm clearing the gallery, and I go and grab all the items in that gallery to save it over there. That's basically what I'm doing. And that's actually a much more safer way to do it, is then you don't have to keep track of, oh man, the top one was checked or the third one was checked. How do I keep track of all of them? The easiest and the simplest way is you clear that collection altogether, and then you go grab all of those which have been true or which have been checked. See, that's why I'm doing that, is I'm filtering the entire gallery based on the values that are true, which means based on the ones that are checked. And I'm going ahead and grabbing all these items over there which have been checked, and I'm saving it into my collection over there. It's literally as simple as that. But what I want to do is I don't want to do it only on check. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to select the whole thing, Control C, and I'm going to now go to my uncheck. And believe it or not, it is the exact same formula. Because what I'm doing is I'm being even more smarter. I'm not just factoring in when it is checked, but I'm going ahead to make sure that it is factored in when it is unchecked. Same process. When it is unchecked, which means, okay, it's unchecked, no big deal, but I still want to go ahead and make sure that I have updated my temporary access collection and still grab now the new set of checked ones which are there, or lack of a better term, the remaining ones that are unchecked, I go and grab that. So it's very important, for the sake of accuracy, that you put this formula in the check and in the uncheck, and it works really well, right? So this is basically the first thing that I wanted to get done. And you know me, that when I go ahead and hit make a change, after a significant bunch of changes that I made, I go ahead and save it. I don't always publish it, but I go and save it. Now, everything over here is working well, so I'm not going to do any other changes to this. This is all great. All of this is also still good. So now, after I've gone ahead and done this, I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. Because one of the big things that I would do is I would make sure I go to that screen and go take a look at on visible over here. I want to confirm that on my actual demo side as well. All right, we're all good. Also, let me go take a look at my app on start. On the app on start, one of the first things that I usually do is I go ahead and grab who's the logged in user, because I want to save that login user information over there as well. So what I do is I want to go ahead and grab that, because I'm going to be starting to save some information. So on the app on start, I go and put in my favorite variable, which is the login user variable, comma, and I use the user function here, and I go ahead and close it. Simple things like this, it's okay to go ahead and do it on start, but just plan accordingly. You don't put in too much information on start, because it's going to slow down the loading of the app. So this is one of those simple things that you want to do. And then I'm going to go ahead and put in this variable called set pop up variable, and I'm going to set that as false. This is something that I've done all the time, is when I'm saving a data, I do that whole trust but verify thing. So this is basically where I'm going to go and do that. All right. So moving along. In fact, one of the things I'll do over here is on the app, I'm going to right click. I'm going to do run on start. That way now I've got the login user variable. It is set with the value of the users. I've also got the pop-up variable, and I've set its value to false. That's the beauty of the on start. You come to the app, right click, and you do the run on start, and we are good, and we are moving along. So let's go back to our main screen over here, and I'm going to do some testing. So let's just make sure I got everything here. This is good. Ground, home, yeah, apartment, all of that is great. Okay. So final piece of the puzzle is going to be the save button. So I'm gonna figure out where do I want to save it. Maybe I'll just put the save over here on the bottom. What I could do is I could actually go ahead and move some of this up and make some room for it. Pick and choose what you want. I'll say if this was office. If this is an office, then I've already got some room. So I think I've got some room over here. I'll go put with the button. So I'm gonna now go and put this in over here. I can go and add a button. The button is going to be the final submit button right down over here. Go ahead and change that to my submit button, AS or it's ADS2, add screen 2, and then I'll just change this to submit. And we got that over here. And I mean, I could move this one a little bit on the top too, just so it has a nice aesthetic viewing over here. I could even come in here. I can go ahead and change its border radius to 0, so it looks like a nice flat button. Just, you know, play around with it and see what you like, right? Got that over here. We've got the button going. Now in that button itself, I want to now put in the pop-up variable, because I'm not doing a save only on that button. I'm going to do the whole trust but verify. So when I click on the submit, it actually goes and does a pop-up over there, right? So I haven't actually done any, I haven't added any of the pop-ups. So let me start talking about what this pop-up is going to be. The pop-up is basically just a way to validate that, hey, this is the, you know, whole trust but verify thing. But how do I make that pop-up? What I first do is I actually go ahead and drop a label. That's why I'll put that over here. And I cover it up nicely so it actually fills the most important things that I need. So I'm going to call this now as AS2 submit label, and I'll put in some you know, design pieces over here. So let's say I want to now change this one's fill to, let me do it this way, but I'll go ahead and change some of the colors for that fill. So I'm going to change that to say 80%. Oopsies, changed to the submit button over here. I guess I deleted that. Come back and see if I can grab it. There we go. Grabbed it back. Went and put in for its fill. Put that to about 80%. 80%. I like that. I'll stick with that. Here, I'm going to go ahead and now play with its text. So I come over here. Text. Let me bump that up to 60. Nice. 60 over here. Make it center. I can even move that up a little bit. Let me go to the padding on the bottom. Padding on the bottom, let's say 50. Say 500. 500 is too much. Let's go with, say, 200. 200 is good. I like that. And then I'm going to change the text to, are you sure? Do that. Add some color. It should be just white. And I make sure that all this is visible. All right, so did that. Next, we go ahead and add our button. So button over here, change it to, let's see, what size button do I want to put it in? I'll go ahead and say, let's start at 200. Size, 200, come all the way down to radius. Yeah, that's good. So I'm going to change here to AS2, yes, button. Change that to yes. Let's play around with the font size, and I'll move that to, yeah, that's actually, yeah, let's stick with that. And I could change some of the coloring. I can go to a much darker color here, something like that. Or I can make it lighter, whatever works for you. I like this. So now since I like this as is, I'm going to Control C this, Control V, and I'll go ahead and make that as the no. Change that text no. Come over here, change it to nope, or no, nope. And I think we are in good shape now. So I've got all three of them, this one, the buttons, and I've got the label. So now I'm going to grab all three of them, right click, I'll group it, and then I'll just call this group as my AS2, which is add screen 2 submit group. Right, so got that. Now, what is the condition for the submit group to be showing up? And that's pretty simple. I'll go ahead and set that pop-up variable that I added over here. Remember, initially I put the pop-up variable and I set it to false. Then when I hit that submit, I set it to true. So I'll just basically factor that pop-up variable over here to this one. So that is the pop-up variable. Now it disappears because by default that variable is false, so it's working. But over here in its on select, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say pop up variable, comma, true. So I come over here and do a quick test. I hit submit, perfect, this shows up. And then the next thing is when I come to this button over here, I can actually go ahead and put the same thing. Set pop up variable, set that to false. Go ahead and copy that right now because you're going to need it for the yes as well. But let's do a quick test. I do no, and this is good, so it's working. Perfect. One of the reasons I like that putting that transparency to 80% is when somebody's submitting it, they still have a view of what all they've selected. And this really helps them visually confirm that, hey, I did select everything that right, and this is good content to go and save it. That transparency really has a good effect. So I do it, you're welcome to continue using that as well. All right, so now let's focus on the yes button, because this is going to be the main section of the remaining piece over here, is how and in what format am I going to go ahead and save it. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and start adding the formula. So it's going to be on this one here. I'm going to go on the on select, and this is where I'm going to be adding some formulas. So I'm going to go ahead and hide this all the way up here, or expand it all the way. All right, so let's go now. And first, I want to make sure that I remember in the future what all of this meant. So I'm going to start using some comment sections over here. And for comment is / star, and then I go ahead and put in the star and / again. That way I've got room for my comment. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I'm going to save the data in the request lists, which is this one over here. I've already got a demo done, so I've got that over here. The first one, this is where data is going to be saved first. Then I'm going to grab the ID from here. I'm going to save it to a variable. So that's why this saving step needs to be on the top over there. So it's very important that you know that. And therefore, I'm going to actually say that this, will save data in the requests SharePoint Online SPO list, return the ID of the list, and save it to a variable, right? I highly recommend you start putting these type of comments over here, because if you come back to this app next week, next month, or whatever, this logic that is so fresh in your mind right now may not be fresh over there. So it really helps that you go and do it this way. I guarantee you, I get it. It's an extra amount of work right now, but you're going to save yourself so much time in the future trying to figure it out, because these comments are going to make sense. Now, I put this comment in for myself. You put that something in, you type something in that makes sense to you, okay? Just keep that in mind. Don't have to go verbatim to what I'm doing over here. All right, so I'm going to call that temporary variable is request ID variable. And the reason I did that is because the list name is request, and I'm going to grab the ID of that list. So I just put that request ID variable. Put a comma, I hit shift, enter, went to the next line, and I'm going to start my first patch. So first patch is that request, that list name, it's called requests. So I type that in, comma, and I'm going to put in my defaults. I'm going to type in request again, there, close it, comma, shift, enter, open up the brackets. And what I do is I actually go ahead and set this up. So I open up the bracket, I hit shift, enter, enter again. I close the brackets, I close it again. And yeah, and then I can hit, I'll leave it like that for now, because right now all the errors have been cleaned up, which means I know that any errors coming forward are going to be related to these commands that I'm putting in over here, because the overall framework of the request is of the patch function and the set function is good. So I just do this for myself because it really helps me understand all that. Cool, let's move along. So, oh, and then one more thing is I gotta hit a space, and the space, I mean hit the period, and then now all you see over here is the columns that are coming in from the SharePoint list, and it's asking me what are those column data that you want to bring back after you've patched it, and that data is going to be saved in your list, or I mean in your variable. And as it makes sense by the variable name, I want that ID back. So that's what I'm just going to do. I'm going to type in ID over here, and then I can go ahead and close it. So now this is perfect. I patch it, and then after I patched it, I get the ID back, and I save that over here. that is the beauty of how this setting the variable or setting the patch function inside the variable function works over there. Important to know, right? So the first thing that I'm going to do is for this SharePoint list title, I'm going to do that over here, and I'm going to go ahead and grab just the model text. All right, so I went and put that model text in, and I think I call that as the AS2 model text over here. Basically, that was just telling me what that text model number is. So that's what I'm putting in over here. All right, model text dot text. Now here's the big one, is the requester. Who is the requester? So let's go to the SharePoint list, and the requester is a user column. So I come to the list settings and I go look at my requester. It's actually a person or a group. That's very important because I want to be able to, in the future, for whatever reason, I want to be able to go ahead and, use that column of that specific type. Now, if this is the first time that you're using a patch one, this is great because you're going to learn something neat. Is when you're patching to a people or a group column in SharePoint list, this is the way you do it. So the column call is requester. So I'm going to do that. And then for the sake of this one, requester, I usually hit Shift Enter and I put everything else inside another brackets. Close that again, brackets. And here is where you start typing in some other stuff. So first one is, and just so that I don't make any mistake, I'm just going to copy it from my notes here, Control C. And here is how it works. Now what I'm basically doing is I have to put in this O data type and this formula over here. The reason I have to do that is because I'm calling SharePoint using this Azure connector specifically to the SharePoint list over there to go ahead and grab the SharePoint user. I'm making an O data type connection. One of the questions I get asked over here is, whoa, back up. Now you're using a connector. It's an Azure connector to the SharePoint list. Daniel, is this going to cost me more license? Answer to that is no. This will still work with your Office 365 E3, E5 business license. It still works because you are not using a premium connector for this. But this is a formula that I have to add for the patch function to grab that person name over there. Okay, so I know you might have gotten a little concerned over there. Just be at rest that this does not require an additional license. All right. So let's move along. Now what I need to do is I need to put in claims, and in the claims it is going to be a this function that I got to put in over here, right? So it's going to be double quotes I full colon a 0 hashtag dot 0 what I put in, actually hashtag, and then dot F, and then I put in a full colon membership, another full colon, and then I go ahead and close it, and then after that I can put in a lower, and I get my login user. But I gotta put two things. I gotta go grab the email, and then I'm gonna also go ahead and grab later on my the display name. But I know this sounds a little confusing. Why are you doing this? This is just how you gotta communicate with SharePoint to get all those pieces of attributes that you need to make a successful patch function to save the data to that people and group column. There is no other way to work around this. You've got to do this because this is the only way that app communicates with Power Apps if you want to do this as a people or group column. Now, I've had some people come and say, Daniel, I don't want to go through all this mess. Can I just use a single line of text and save an email over there? That also works. It's really great. But keep in mind that if you're going to use that SharePoint list for some other purposes, it would be best that you would actually save this as a person or as in the people or group format. So this extra work that you're doing, trust me, it's going to pay off. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so department name, I don't need it, but I don't need to go and call it. But for the sake of this patch function to work, I still got to put that in. So that's why I just put in department, and I just ended with the semicolon. Same thing. I just go ahead and I've got to put in a display name. It's just the way that this is the requirement. This is just the way this is designed. So just go ahead and do that. The department name, you don't have to fill anything in, but you got to at least have that attribute in it, and you just put the two double quotes. Same thing for the display. Email, you've got to put that in because that's the unique identifier. So you've got to put that in over here. And then same thing, job title, comma, job title, you've got to just put in these periods over here. And then picture, same thing, colon, there, period there, and Okay, so it's cleaned up over here. It works. Perfect. Now I'm going to move forward. So I just showed you that I had to take off the comma just to make sure that I didn't have any errors. But I'm good right now. So to continue, I got to go ahead and now put that comma again. So you see these errors because nothing's wrong over here. It's just that I had to put that comma because we're not done yet. I need to go ahead and add the comment. Now this one's comment is actually coming from a column that I have called comment. So it's this one here. I'm going to go grab that, close this one again, grab this, paste it, dot text, and then I'm also going to now get the manufacturer IDs, because now this is where I start saving those IDs over here. All right, so this one's ID comes from the selected ID over here. That's where it's coming from. The original one that I went ahead and selected the ID from, that's where it's coming from. So I'll show you. It's coming from this one here. In the first screen, or the ad screen, which was the manufacturer that I selected? Well, I selected it from here in that gallery. So I'm now going to just take this, Control C, and I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to now save that to here. Which was the ID that I got? Well, there's the ID. So that's selected dot ID, and that's that. Next, I'm going to now go and get the same thing for the device ID. Well, where did that device ID come in? It came in from the devices gallery over here. So I got to go back on this side, and I got to grab. Already did that. It actually came from this side, this gallery over here. So I'm going to come over here, double click on that, Control C, come over here, there. And grab that dot selected dot ID, and I got that as well. Next, I'm going to now go ahead and get the location ID. Well, where did the location ID come from? Well, the location ID came from the one that was selected over here. What kind of shipping location it is, because that came from another list over there. So that locations is actually just the list box. So it is called as shipping location AS2. That's the one there. So I'm going to just double click on that. Control C, come back over here. So as you can see, this is where I'm actually building all those relationships now. And it's actually working out very well. So selected.id, grab that. What else? We got shipping class ID. So let me get the shipping class ID. Shipping class ID was again another list box over here. So that is right here. Actually, that's the shipping location. Here it is, shipping class. Control C, double click, Control C, come back over here, click on that. Dot selected, dot ID. And let me just take a look. And this is it. This is the main piece over here. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and now just close this. That way I just know where this ended. And the first thing is I'm going to go ahead and save it. So if now if you kind of go back and look at that matrix that I showed you, this is where all the matrix is being used over here. See all the manufacturer ID, I got it from the first gallery, saving that over here. Device ID, saving it here. Location ID, shipping class IDs. All those ID plannings that I did in the first video is coming in handy over here because I'm saving it, and then I'm also capturing the ID over here. All right, so this was, we went ahead and did all that work over here, did the old data type. It was a lot of work, but it's worth it. But this is just the first piece. We are saving it to the request list. That's the first list. We took care of it. The other two are pretty simple and straightforward because I need to go ahead and patch it to the whichever was the accessory that I selected. I got to go ahead and patch that to the accessory request, and then the final one is I got to go ahead and also grab the shipping type I've done over there. Now, the accessory one is a pretty interesting one because I've selected multiple accessories over there. So I got to patch multiple selected items over there. And the way you patch multiple selected items is you use the combination of for all, and put the patch inside it. But for all of what? Well, for all is of the temp access collection that we just created. Remember, right in the beginning when we did that selection, I created that temp access collection. This is why I did that, so I can go and capture all of those that were selected. So let me come back over here, and I'm going to start over here by saying, this will save data to the shipping, actually not shipping, it'll save data to the, we'll save multiple data, multiple items in the accessory SPO list. And then the data includes the request ID variable from above. Okay, so important to do commenting. Basically over here, what I'm trying to say is that along with me saving multiple times, I'm also going to go and save that request ID request ID variable so I can maintain that relationships over there. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to put in for all, and I missed putting a semicolon up there. So one of the ways I understand that I'm missing something is because the IntelliSense stops working. So that's why I knew that, oh, I'm not getting an IntelliSense, which means I've missed something over there, and that's why I put that comma semicolon. So all right, for all temp access collection items over there, I'm going to comma, hit Shift Enter, and I'm going to now do patch the accessory requests, comma, defaults of the accessory request, close it, hit a comma, Shift Enter, open it, do a semi, brackets. I'm going to close the bracket. This time I don't need to get any ID back over here, so all I have to do is just close it, and I can hit the semicolon, and we don't see any squiggly lines, right? So we are good. We can just move along. I do see a squiggly line, an error back here, but I'll leave that for now. So okay, in the shipping, in this for all, this is pretty simple and straightforward. I'm just going to say the title is basically going to be the accessory that I selected. All right, so that's going to be that one. The accessory is basically this one over here. That's the accessory. So that's all I'm going, selecting that one. Next, I'm coming into comma, and I got to say which was the accessory ID, because the accessories are coming from a separate accessory list. So I got to go and grab that accessory ID. Well, that's pretty simple, right? Because what I did was I went ahead and got it from that accessory to the same thing that I went ahead and did over here. I'm going to go ahead and grab that. So accessory, the accessory list is actually, it's not a list. I apologize. It's actually the, actually, I take that back. It is a list. There's a little trick over here. You do that. It is the accessories, the value. Let me go take a look. Something like that. I just got to close this because it's coming from here. This one, the selected ID from the gal. All right. Let me pause over here because there's something that's missing. And I will show you what that is. In order for me to get that ID, I need to put in a temporary and a blank label over here. Now the reason for that is it makes it easier for me to identify that. So in these accessories, AS2 accessories gallery, this one is the accessory itself. So what I'll do is, and it says title 5, I'm just going to say AS2 accessory gal. What I need to do is I'm going to do a Control C and a Control V, and in here I'm going to take that one and I'm going to change that on the top to ID. I didn't do that in the second video because this is only something that's going to be used over here. So I am going to put that in here, change that to ID gal. But if you want to see it, go ahead and just move this in the next, right over here if you want to see it. But if you don't need to see it, you can basically just come and select that and make it invisible. So that's what I'm going to do because all I care about are these ones over here. But you really need to have that ID column. So this is a very crucial step. I intentionally didn't add this in the second video because it only applies over here for that patch section over there. So I'm going to keep that in mind. Now, this is the exact same thing that I need because I'm going to go ahead and reference that ID over here because the ID I've gone ahead and grabbed it, put it in the gallery, and now I'm going to go and put that over here. So this is what it is. AS2 accessory ID. And see, it's times like this when you are having a trouble spelling it out and things like that. I just come back over here, double click on it, Control C, and came back here. Go back in that. And there, I can just make sure that I don't have any spelling mistake problem whatsoever. Yep, dot text. Well, let's see. I am still getting an error. And if I hover my mouse over that, it's telling me that the type of this argument accessory ID does not match the expected type number. So accessory ID is a number type column in SharePoint, but over here, the text, the control that I have in Power Apps is a text one. And so for that, I got to make a little change. I got to go ahead and put in this value. And now you see the error goes away because it's a very simple thing on that. All right. Same thing now. I'm going to go ahead and now take the request ID because I've got a request ID column in that accessory request. And I'm going to go ahead and put that relationship of that request ID as well. Well, where do I get the request ID's data? Aha, I remember. I went ahead in the patch for the first patch. I went ahead and grabbed that ID and I saved it to this request ID variable. And so that's what I'm going to do. Request ID variable. And I've gone ahead and saved it. So let's see, how are things moving along? So far I'm going well. Let's just make sure everything is looking good. Yep, we're moving forward. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and grab this, Control C, come back over here and end it. Let me just make sure I got my patch functions all good. Cool. Let me make sure I've got my patch functions up over here good. Request ID did that. Oh, over here, I forgot to put in the double brackets in for the for all function. So that's why I was getting that little red squiggly line. If you were noticing me, I was at a little bit of an unrest because I saw that red squiggly in a text coming up over there because I missed a bracket. So I was just kind of thinking it through over there. Okay, now the last piece of the puzzle, which is we patched it. Now the first thing is we patched it to the request list. Went through just fine. We grabbed all those IDs. Second thing is we patched it to the accessory list. Perfect. Went through. We got all the IDs over there as well. Now the final one is going ahead and patching it to that shipping request. So in the shipping, I've just done a selection over here. But there's two types of shipping options that I have. Either I went ahead and did it apartment one, or I went ahead and did it the home. Either the apartment or the home is one option, and then there is the office. And just to show you that, if I selected apartment or I selected home, these are the fields that I got. But if I select the office, I got this one over here. So I got to factor that in when I'm patching it, is that which ones were selected. And the best way to factor that in is use an if condition. So let's go back and work on that, all right? So I'm going to come in over here and I'm going to now start this here, and I'm going to say that this will save data to the shipping SPO list. And then this data also includes the request ID variable from above. All right. Okay, so since there's only one selection made, I don't have to use a for all. So I can just come and do the patch shipping. It's just shipping. It's not a shipping class. Defaults also for shipping. Close it, comma, enter, open the brackets, close the brackets, and yeah, so I see all the errors are gone away. Oh, one thing I haven't done is I haven't gone to file and done any save for a while. It's kind of best I go and do that. So just taking care of it. Moving along, coming back over here. So in my shipping list, and I should have done that for the other one, is in the shipping list, I want to go ahead and save all this data. So let me go grab that request ID because I already got that variable over there. All right, so let me go and do that. Request ID, so grab that, and that request ID uses that request ID variable. All right, so I already got that. That was easy. Now we got to focus on the remaining ones. We got to focus on street, city, state, and zip. These four we got to focus on, and for each and every one of them, I've got to put in that if condition because I've got to make sure which one was selected. Was it either the office one that was selected, or was it the other ones? But to make it easier, when I was thinking about it, is that all I need to say is that, hey, if office is selected, then go ahead and pick the ones from the selected items over here. Like if what I mean is that if the office is selected, then go ahead and grab the information from here. And what you see over here is actually only the street address, but this one also has the city, it also has the zip code and the state and everything. So you got to factor that into our formula. So let me come back over here. And I'm going to start putting that if function. So let's do an example of the street first, right? Street, I'm going to do if, and if over here, if this one that I select, that control, if for that one, I can come up over here, and I can, instead of me searching for the control over here, I can also go to the properties, double click on that, do a control C, and come back over here. So if in this control, in this list box, if I have selected office, then go ahead and grab another information. So if on this one, dot selected, dot title equals an office, then go and grab from this control over here. Go and grab from here the city one. All right. So going to do Control C, come back over here. Where are the, right here? Dot selected, and I'm doing title. The title is the one where I actually got the street, because in the SharePoint list, the title one was actually the main one where I got the street, so that's why I'm putting that as title over there. So I close that if function, comma, and I move forward over there. So the city is very similar too. Again, in fact, I can do a lot of copying it over here, right from up over here. Let's see, right up to, my apologies, I lost internet connection, so I had to reboot my router and then come back over here. So let's just pretend none of that happened and continue over here. So I was at the point where I had to start typing in my city section over here, but I wanted to step back a little bit and notice that I was missing something in this here. Okay, so what I was doing was that I factored in that if it's an office, go ahead and put in the office in, but I didn't factor that if it's not an office, I need to actually go ahead and grab just the address. So let me show you that. If it is just a home and it was not an office, I got to go and get what was submitted on this one, what was entered. So I've selected that. I got to come over here. I can do Control C, and then I type that in and put that in over here. Dot text, and then I can close that and type a comma, and then I can move forward on this one. All right. So for the city piece, I can continue moving forward with a lot. So I can do actually copying all the way up to here. And I can do that for the other ones too. So dot selected, and now for the city, I just type in city, and then for the if it's not the selected one, then I got to go grab this control. So I didn't change that name over here. That's why it's a good idea that I put that as text underscore one, and I still call that as city. This is why sometimes I say two things. Name only those things that you want to name. But even if you're not sure, you may have put a typo. Come over here, click on that control, find whatever that input was, and double click on it and do a Control C, and that just makes sure that you don't have any errors because of mistakes like a human being like I do. All right, so dot text, and then let's keep moving because we're almost at the end over here. Remember, do all the way up to here. Control C, dot state, comma, I gotta go grab the state, which is this one here. See, didn't change it properly, but I'm giving you a real world example that I wish I would have changed that label name or the text name, but I did not. At the same time, I am not making any mistakes. I'm still working with the right one because I went and selected it. Okay, and finally I gotta get zip. So this is for the zip. Come here. Control C. Zip. Comma. Come here. Still get the zip. Control C. Come back over here. And almost done there. Dot text. And then I can finally go ahead and yeah, I've already closed this over here. So all the brackets are in all correct order. I've opened them in the right way and I've closed them the right way, and I'm going to go ahead and save it. Now, the final piece of the puzzle is after you've done all of this, it's best that you go ahead and do some resets. So there's a few things that I need to reset. I'm going to have to reset each and every one of these things over here. and I'm also going to have to reset some of these things over there. So what I'll do is I'll just make it easier. Let me first reset the comment section here. So I'm going to do that, Control C, come back to my yes button. And let me just add some resets, because that's basically how you want to go ahead and do some resetting as well. Come here, comma, reset. The reason it's important to do the reset is because next time when you come along, everything has been reset, so you don't, accidentally save it with the last information that was there. It's very important. Unless and until you actually close the app and reopen it, that's fine. But if you've gone ahead and made one, purchase, and you go back and do another purchase, it still remembers the last one. That's why it's very important that you actually do that reset over there. And I just, as a good practice, go ahead and put that as a reset anyway. So I'm just going to reset a few, the main ones. Reset the shipping location. That. Did the shipping location. Let me get office locations. Just simple things. Moving on. Then I could go ahead and do the other ones too. So let me reset the city, the address. Let me just type that in fast. Let me go ahead and do this. Copy all of those fast. That'll take care of the street, city, zip code, so that I can move a little bit faster. Let me grab this one. Control C. Come here. That one there. Let me go grab this one. Control C. Did that. State. Almost there. Almost there. And here. That's basically the final piece of the puzzle. Is I just need to go paste that and we can do some testing, and we should be back in action here. We should be done. Perfect. And then after this, if you wanted, well, actually it's a good thing you do, you got to navigate it somewhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to navigate back to my home screen, and then you can fade in, fade out. I'll just do a fade, and we are done. We're done with this patching piece over here. So let me just click on this file, save it. And now we do the final testing to make sure everything is working. So I'm going to hit and publish too. So let's start doing some testing. We'll just test it over here first. I'm going to pick, say, let's just stick with these ones. Yeah, Acer, Aspire, S5. Selected that, came over here. Everything is good. For the sake of this demo, I'm going to select them all. It says, some accessories are missing, but this will do. Just whatever. I'll do ground. Let's do office for now first, right? Hit submit. Doing that. I can see the ants marching over there, which means something's happened. But let's go and take a look at what exactly happened. So the first one is requests. I did an Acer one. So it went ahead and grabbed that Acer. Remember, I did the manufacturer and the model in the title one. That's what I did. Got the requester. By the way, if I click on the requester, see how it pops up over there? That means that I've done the correct patching, that all big, long department name and everything. But I've successfully patched it to the people on the group one. And this is the reason why. Now I can use that. Got my 3 IDs over there, which are perfect. Took the comment over there, and I got my shipping class ID. Next is over here. See, I got the shipping class ID, I got the request ID, and I was able to go and get the shipping information. And then finally, I also went ahead and put in the 3 new ones that I selected, accessories. Each of them have the correct ID over here, but they also, the correct initial request ID. See, the request ID was 3. Let me show you that. This one's request ID is 3. So when I come back over here, this one's request ID is 3. The accessory ID is actually the accessories of these three ones over here. So I got that. So you see, it's actually working, and it's working really well. But let's just go and do another test, because right now I'll go and do, say, a Microsoft one. I'll go a Surface Pro, come back over here. Oh, I didn't close the patch one. That's why it's doing what it's doing. In fact, let's fix it. Let's go ahead and come back to this one here. And what I did was right on the top, I need to close my the pop-up variable. So right after this one here, I'm just doing a simple copy and paste to save us some time, and says this will hide the pop-up, which includes that, and it saves it. So back over here, did the Microsoft one, selected that. Let's just pretend that I did do something, right? There were no accessories actually for this Microsoft one, so let's pick something else. Let's do the Dell one over here. That's good. This one actually has accessories, and it has them all. It's the Dell XPS. No comments. I do want it overnight, and I want it in an apartment. So I'm going to do the same thing. One, Microsoft Way, Redmond, Washington, and then I also put in the zip code. Hit submit. Yes, because this is the second type of patch. I had to use the if conditions over there. So let's go and actually look at my request. The request one is the new Microsoft one the Dell one that I did. Went and grabbed all the MFR IDs over there. I didn't put any comment, so it shows up blank. Next is the shipping. What kind of shipping did I did? Yep, it grabbed all the shipping information over there. Remember this time with the if function, since I didn't select a office one, I selected a personal location. It grabbed everything that I have over here from the patch function. And then finally, it was able to go ahead and grab all these accessories over here. So I know we did a lot, and I covered a lot too. Even my router rebooted in the process. Probably it was overloaded, whatever. But it's important that we went through this three-part series over here, because in this one, we were able to take the first one. The request one is where we added the list, and we grabbed its ID. And then when we were patching the other ones, which was the shipping one, we were able to take all these IDs and put it in the shipping. We would also go ahead and put it in the accessories. We put IDs over there. All these relationships that we did the planning in the first video, we went ahead and did the building of the app in the second video. It all begins to make sense over here because I was able to patch everything back in the correct way. So hope this three-part series has been helpful to you, because this will now really help you to plan your apps well, plan the data sources well as well, because when you plan, all of the information doesn't have to be as one column, as one list item with multiple columns. And sometimes that may or may not work, because in this case, it really doesn't work. I had multiple accessories over there. So hopefully this type of planning helps you. Hopefully this three-part videos has helped you. If you've got any questions, go and put it in the comments below. Definitely, don't forget to subscribe. And as always, keep power apping.